My name is Michaela Rivera, and I'm 35 years old. From the 32nd floor, where the city arranges itself like a solved puzzle, I learned something no one says out loud. Some houses keep score even when the scoreboard looks like a centerpiece. My mother curates holidays the way other women curate crystal: perfect lighting, perfect captions, perfect reasons my children don't fit. Every year, it was the same soft blow. There's no room for your kids. Thanksgiving, Christmas, 4th of July. Fresh excuses, same sentence. The guest room was already set for Lily's twins. The basement was mid-Reno. The dog needs a quiet space. There was always space for my sister's kids and their golden doodle, Mocha, who wore boots in December and a scarf in March. My son Jonah, 9, and my daughter Ava, 6, got porch hugs and a to-go plate. I called it logistics because calling it favoritism would mean starting a fight I'd be blamed for finishing. I work front desk at a midtown hotel, which is to say I can apologize for elevators like it's a love language. I know the tone that gets upgrades without a scene. People hand me their problems folded into questions, and I make them feel welcome without losing the room. That skill doesn't translate well at home. At home, hospitality turns into erosion. Lily is the glitter version of me. Big laugh, bigger ideas, twins named Theo and Piper who sparkle on camera. Mom calls her our star. Dad calls me reliable with the same tone he uses for a vacuum that gets the job done. Lily's texts arrived as cheerful invoices. Robotics kit? We'll pay Friday. Sitter canceled. Can you cover deposit? Lifesaver. Inhaler copay is wild. I kept a spreadsheet named Lilyu, closed it after 3 months because I hated who I was becoming counting every kindness. When Jonah was a baby, I bounced him in the hallway next to the coat closet while my mother set 2 high chairs at the table with place cards, Theo and Piper. We totally forgot your little guy needs to sit too, Lily laughed, as if infants hover. Later, at Christmas, Mom said, "Full house, sweetheart. Stop by for coffee at 8. Presents were at 10. We drove home at 9:30 past the window, where my nieces and nephew opened gifts in matching pajamas, while Mocha wore a stocking like a birthright. If you ask why I didn't explode, I'll tell you, because exploding would become the story. In our family, the most unforgivable sin is making a scene. My mother can hold her breath until you feel like you broke something expensive just by standing there. Then this spring, the smallest change cracked something open. A promotion. Not dramatic, just a bump, a bonus, and a reason to move closer to the hotel. I found an apartment that felt like sunlight remembered me. Top floor of a tired building someone finally loved, back to life. People call it a penthouse. I call it a line of sky and 2 balconies that make my children's laughter sound like a promise. Enough room for bunk beds. A table that doesn't wobble. I signed on a Tuesday, sat on the floor with scallion pancakes cooling in a cardboard clamshell, and watched the city blink like it couldn't help itself. I sent 1 photo to the family chat. Mom replied with 20 exclamation points. Dad wrote, "Proud of you, mija." Lily wrote, "OMG." Then, before my heart could believe the quiet, Lily added, "We're packing our things right now." The old me started mentally choosing sheets, negotiating where to put Mocha's bed. The old me moved furniture inside my chest until everyone fit except me. The woman who held the keys set the takeout down, wiped her hands, and realized a rule. I work in hospitality. Hospitality without policy becomes harm. My boyfriend Ethan texted, "How's the new view?" And I almost sent him the whole story, the years of porch hugs, the way my mother's captions turned absence into aesthetics. Instead, I stared at the family chat where Lily had typed a declaration, not a question, and I thought about Ethan's ex, Camille, the kind of woman who comments hearts on my mother's posts as if applause could lease a room. Foreshadow is a quiet drum. I heard it. I typed slowly, tasting every word. This isn't a hotel. We're not doing that. The phone rang before the message bubble cleared. Lily, laughing like I'd made a joke. "Haha, funny. When should we bring the playpen?" "You shouldn't," I said. "The second bedroom works. Theo and Piper can share. We'll put Mocha by the balcony. He loves air." "There is no Mocha bed here." Silence, then the offense gathering. "You're serious?" "Yes. We're family, Michaela. Exactly why I'm telling you the truth." A soft sound. That calculus she does, choosing which strategy earns the most space. She picked pity. Our landlord's impossible. Just a landing pad. A month. 2 max. I can host dinners, I said. Not households. You're punishing me for Mom's rules. She pivoted to righteous. This is about holidays. It's about my home. Mom appeared on a three-way like she'd been waiting behind the curtain. Michaela, she said, gentle and edged, I'm hearing you refuse to help. I'm stating a boundary, I said in my front desk voice, the one that makes drunks hand back their keys. Boundaries are trendy, she said, like boots. They're also real. You have space, we don't. Bright, reasonable. It's simple math. It's my space, I said. That's the math. The quiet on the line was a chandelier. I felt it sway. Ethan's name flashed. Another call, I'd answer later. For now, I looked at the empty room where bunk beds would go, pictured Jonah's blue blanket on top, Ava's unicorn pillow on the bottom, and the basil plant I didn't own yet somehow smelling alive in my mind. Lily exhaled theatrically. You'll regret this. I breathed in my own life and said, I won't. And for the first time in years, I sounded like someone who lived where she was standing. The next morning, the group chat turned into a courtroom. Mom opened with hospitality law. We've always made room for Lily's family because they have more moving parts. I typed, I have 2 moving parts. They're called children. She replied, the twins sleep like angels. Jonah and Ava don't rest in new places. The old knot tugged. I let it sit there and didn't translate her preferences into my guilt. Ethan called, You okay? I said no, and the earth kept spinning, I said. I'm proud of you. A pause. Do you want me there tonight? Not yet. I want to hear what quiet sounds like when I choose it. He breathed a laugh. Text me a picture of that quiet. When I hung up, Camille's name glowed under Mom's Thanksgiving teaser post from last year. 3 floating heart emojis, a comment about family traditions that require a real home. It was nothing, and also a match. I scrolled past it like it was a gnat, and blocked the urge to swat. By noon, Mom had escalated from captions to conference call. Her voice was satin over wire. Michaela, you're being corporate. I work in a building where we welcome strangers, I said. Home isn't that. What happened to generosity? It grew a backbone. Your sister needs stability for the twins. My kids need it too. Here. The afternoon passed in small resistances. Lily tried logistics. We'll fold the Peloton. It's compact. She tried financials. We'll pay you. She tried threat. We'll just come for Thanksgiving and handle everything so you don't have to lift a finger. I typed the same sentence each time until it felt like a spine made of letters. No live-ins, no storage, no pets. Visits are planned. At 5:42 p.m., the doorman rang my cell. Miss Rivera, there's a delivery insisting it belongs to you. I rode the elevator down with my stomach steady for once. The lobby looked like a moving sail threw up. 6 Rubbermaid bins labeled Winter, an unplugged Peloton, 2 backpacks, and Mocha in tiny rubber boots, looking like contraband joy. The twins were climbing the bins. Lily was staging the scene for sympathy. Don't be dramatic, she said brightly, like the word might hypnotize me. It's temporary. It's against the policy, I said. Michaela. Mom materialized through the revolving door, casserole in her arms, like a peace treaty with steam. Let's be reasonable. Reasonable is a week's notice and a conversation that starts with, may we, instead of we're here. People pretended not to watch. A man checked his mail long enough to read a novel. The concierge polished an already clean counter. That's the worst part of boundaries. The audience. The fear of becoming the show. The twins, Lily murmured, tilting her chin toward them as if they were props. You're going to make them sleep in a van? I crouched, so I was eye level with 2 small faces that did nothing wrong. Hey, you two. That big park with the dinosaur bones? Saturday at 11. Hot chocolate after. Deal? I held out my pinky. They hooked it like kids do when adults stop using them as weapons. I stood up. This, I gestured to the bins, the bike, the boots, isn't coming upstairs. Mom's voice cooled. Don't make a scene, Michaela. I'm preventing one. I turned to the doorman. None of this is mine. If a delivery needs a signature, it won't be mine either. Lily's smile cracked. You know what? Keep your precious sky. She dialed tears like volume. We'll figure it out without you. You always have, I said, and surprised myself by meaning it kindly. They left in a bustle of offended air. Anger is easier to carry than boxes. It fit them like a coat. Upstairs, the apartment exhaled with me. I unfurled the new rug. I built the bunk beds with the hex key biting into my palm. I set Jonah's blue blanket on the top, Ava's unicorn pillow on the bottom. I taped a silly sign inside a cabinet where only we'd see it. House rules. Bedtime is a promise. We eat at the table or the balcony. No hosting surprises. We don't apologize for taking up space here. My phone buzzed. Ethan, how does quiet look? I sent him a picture of the bunk beds and the view that looked like a permission slip. He replied with a single word, home. Later, guilt tried to boomerang back in, disguised as logistics. Mom, your grandmother asked why you're excluding traditions. Me, we're creating our own. Mom, you sound cold. Me, I sound clear. I made tea and listened to the building's evening symphony, water lines thudding, a trumpet practicing through 2 floors, the city learning its own song again. I expected shame to rise like steam. It didn't. What rose instead was a schedule. I opened a new note on my phone and titled it Going Forward. Typed the lines the way we post policies at the hotel. My apartment is not storage, a crash pad, or a pet sitting service. Visits are planned, short, and on my calendar. Surprises become no. No one uses my address or accounts without permission. If an event excludes my kids, I won't attend. I stared at the words until they didn't look like rebellion, but maintenance, like changing the filter on an air conditioner before it burns the motor. A DM pinged. Camille. Of course. Big spaces are meant to be shared, don't you think? Ethan always loved how I hosted. The message smelled like perfume left in a room to trick you into coming back. I typed and deleted 3 petty truths, then settled on the one that made oxygen. My space is for my family and my plans. Wishing you well. Her read receipt glowed and then disappeared. The match never caught. That felt like a win I didn't know I needed. Before bed, I set 2 bowls on the counter for cereal in the morning, even though Jonah and Ava wouldn't be here until Friday. Rituals are scaffolding. I wanted my kids to step into something sturdy. I opened the balcony door. Air rolled in, city-flavored and a little wild. I thought about the lobby, the audience, my pinky held to 2 small fingers, and how nobody cried when the rules changed. My phone vibrated one more time. Lily. Fine. Not permanent. Just Thanksgiving. We'll host it at yours. It'll make up for everything. Me. No. Lily. We already told the twins. Me. Tell them plans changed. Lily. We're doing it there. You'll thank us later. Me. If you show up with food or a dog, you won't get upstairs. I took a screenshot of the building's pet policy and sent it to both of them. It felt petty and perfect, like drawing a line with a ruler after years of shaky pencils. The city kept blinking, indifferent and kind. I brushed my teeth and practiced the front desk tone in the mirror, not for strangers, but for myself. Welcome. Policies posted. Keys accounted for. No overbooking, no exceptions. I turned out the lights and slept like someone who finally believed her no meant tomorrow would still arrive. Friday afternoon, I picked up Jonah and Ava from Marcus's place. The air between us, me and my ex, was civil, clean, like the pause between waves. He looked past me at the car seats. You look lighter. I stopped trying to make everyone comfortable, I said. He smiled, small and knowing. That'll do it. At home, the kids exploded into the new space. Ava spun in the middle of the living room shouting, It echoes, Mommy! Jonah climbed onto the balcony chair and pressed his forehead to the glass. Is all this ours? It is when you're here, I said. We ate pizza on the floor, cartoon marathon flickering across the reflection of city lights. Ava spilled cocoa, cried because she thought she ruined the rug. I told her, we clean rugs. We don't cry over cocoa. She laughed through tears. Jonah built a fort out of moving boxes and declared it Yes Town. It stuck. The apartment started to smell like us, sugar, sweat, and basil from the small plant Ethan had dropped off that morning with a note. Every kitchen needs something green that refuses to die. That night, I sat on the balcony while they slept. Down below, someone played trumpet badly, but it sounded like trying. I thought, this is what peace sounds like, imperfect, human, loud enough to remind you you're still here. Then came Thanksgiving. The doorman rang just after 9 a.m. Ms. Rivera, there's a family here with a dog and many pies. I almost laughed, the kind that sounds like disbelief. I went downstairs. The lobby looked like déjà vu. Mom with a casserole, Lily with her twins bouncing around, Mocha in plaid boots. Surprise, Mom said, voice bright and brittle. We brought everything so you don't have to stress. I took a breath that filled my ribs and held it there. No, I said softly. We're not doing this. Mom's smile froze. Don't make a scene. I'm preventing one, I said again, the same tone that made drunk guests hand back room keys. You weren't invited. Lily's eyes glittered, the way they do before she spins pain into a headline. You'd really turn away your family? On Thanksgiving? I crouched down so I was level with Theo and Piper. Hey guys! Saturday at 11. Big park with the dinosaur bones. Hot chocolate and playground races. Deal? They nodded instantly. Kids are built for quick forgiveness when adults stop using them as pawns. I straightened. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you Saturday. I didn't slam the door when I turned away. I just closed it gently, like sealing a spell. Upstairs, Jonah asked, Was Grandma mad? She's just surprised we're doing our own thing this year, I said. He considered that, then shrugged. Can we have chicken instead of turkey? Turkey's too big. Chicken it is. We ate cross-legged on the floor again, bubbles in our seltzer, pretending to be champagne. Ava insisted we go around the table, imaginary though it was, and say what we were grateful for. I'm thankful for Sky, Jonah said. I'm thankful for chocolate milk, Ava said. I said, I'm thankful for doors that close. After dinner, we watched the parade replay on my phone, judged floats like we were experts, and laughed so hard, Ava snorted cranberry sauce. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like a guest at my own holiday. Mom's social media that night was a parade of gratitude. Smiles, captions, pie photos, but no mention of me. It didn't sting the way it used to. It was just proof that silence can look photogenic too. Later, Ethan arrived with dessert he baked himself, pecan bars, still warm. He stepped inside, looked around, and smiled like he'd been holding his breath all day. You did it, he said. You really drew the line. I was terrified, I admitted, but it turns out fear's quieter than guilt. He brushed a crumb from my cheek. Camille texted me earlier, he said softly. I froze. Of course she did. She said, tell Michaela to remember sharing is caring. My laugh came out sharp. She really said that? He nodded. I blocked her. Then I ordered pecans. We stood there in the glow from the balcony. No accusations. Just the weight of two people learning not to let other people write their home policies. The kids fell asleep on the couch mid-movie. Ethan tucked the blanket around them. They look like peace, he whispered. They look like the reason, I said. And maybe that's when it hit me. The truth my job had been teaching me all along. Welcome doesn't mean unlimited stay. By midnight, the city dimmed like someone finally closed its eyes. I leaned against Ethan, watching the skyline blink. I whispered, they came with pies. He laughed. Of course they did. They left with all of them. Good. You deserve leftovers that are actually yours. When he left, I wrote a line in my notebook before bed. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors with locks you finally learn to use. I turned off the light and listened to the quiet hum of Yes Town dreaming below. Tomorrow, I'd text Lily about the park. I'd bring cocoa, forgiveness in paper cups, and the kind of calm that doesn't need approval to exist. December arrived like a test disguised as glitter. It started with small invasions. A group text from Mom. Cookie exchange at yours, right? You've got the space. Then Lily chimed in. Mocha's so sensitive to noise, we might spend New Year's at your place. He hates fireworks. I typed, the dog can meditate. No events here this month. Mom replied with ellipses. Lily sent a heart emoji that somehow felt like a middle finger. I closed my phone and opened my windows instead. Cold air, honest and uncomplicated, rushed in. That week, I posted the memo I'd been refining in my notes app, pinned it at the top of our family chat. Going forward, my apartment is not storage, a crash pad, or a pet sitting service. Visits are planned, short, and on my calendar. Surprises turn into no. No one uses my address or accounts without permission. If an event excludes Jonah and Ava, I won't attend. Love is welcome here, entitlement isn't. I hit send. Mom replied, understood. Period. No heart, no emoji, just a sigh disguised as punctuation. Lily wrote, you sound like a manager posting rules at work. I smiled. Finally, someone noticed. Christmas morning came like silence wrapped in sunlight. Jonah and Ava stayed in their pajamas until noon, faces sticky with syrup and joy. We built towers out of wrapping paper tubes and called them holiday skyscrapers. The only background noise was laughter and the kettle whistling. We FaceTimed my parents at noon. Mom panned her camera across her living room where Lily's kids built a train track under a massive tree. Mocha wore a reindeer headband. We wish you were here, Mom said sweetly, a little too loud. We're good, I said. Jonah leaned into the screen. We got a balcony. Ava shouted, and pancakes. They ran off before anyone could edit the moment into guilt. After the call, I watched the replay of their joy in my reflection. The old ache, that need to prove we belonged, had been replaced with something lighter. Proof wasn't required when you owned your peace. Later that afternoon, Marcus dropped by with a gift for the kids. He looked around the apartment and smiled. They seem happy here. They are, I said. He nodded at the basil plant thriving on the balcony. You finally kept something alive. I'm working on keeping myself next. We laughed. It wasn't romance, but it was respect, the kind that doesn't need cleaning up afterward. Ethan came by that evening with groceries. No announcement, just 2 bags and a soft knock. I brought dinner. Don't panic, it's not a takeover. I smiled, stepping aside. Only 2 bags. You pass inspection. We cooked side by side, music low, the kind of quiet companionship that feels earned. After dinner, he said, Camille texted again. She posted something about some people confuse boundaries with bitterness. I didn't reply. Good, I said. She's just performing nostalgia. He nodded. You okay with that? I'm learning that silence can be an answer, the kind that closes doors gently. He leaned in, kissed my forehead. You're getting good at that. By January, the dust settled like calm after a storm that finally believed it was over. Lily found a larger rental. Mom joined a crafting group and started posting pictures of crochet angels, captioned, Peace takes practice. Dad texted me about the Knicks again, as if conversation had never broken. When the twins' birthday invitation came, Jonah read it out loud. A trampoline park? He grinned. Can we go? Of course, I said, because boundaries aren't revenge, they're respect. And respect can still show up with balloons. At the party, the kids jumped themselves into exhaustion while I sat next to Lily. She looked thinner, maybe from stress, or maybe from realizing that guilt burns calories. You really held your ground, she said finally. I had to, I said. Otherwise, I'd still be standing outside your house with a to-go plate. She laughed, not unkindly. You always did have hotel manners. Not anymore, I said. Now I just have policies. She nodded slowly, then glanced at me sideways. Thanks for helping me with the new lease, by the way. I added that pet clause like you said. That's what family does, I said quietly. For a moment, the air between us felt almost easy. That night, Jonah and Ava fell asleep in the car before we even reached home. I carried Ava inside, her hair smelling like cotton candy and sugar air. Jonah mumbled in his sleep. Yes, Town, still clutching a glow stick. I laid them in their bunk beds, covered them in blankets, then stepped onto the balcony. The basil plant trembled in the wind, but didn't fall. Below, the city hummed, 1,000 stories flickering behind other people's windows. I thought about Mom's quiet understood, about Lily's half-laugh at the party, about Ethan choosing peace over ego. And I realized something I'd never said out loud. Boundaries aren't rejection. They're instructions for respect. I breathed in the night and whispered, Welcome home, Michaela. This time I didn't mean it for anyone else. The door behind me clicked shut, locked by my own hand, not to keep love out, but to keep peace in.